assumption, maybe.
Extra pen just sitting over there.
All right, welcome to the Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee meeting. It is February 20, it is 5 p.m. and 5:01 actually, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. I do have a consent agenda, and we do have quorum here with myself, Councilmember Cash, Councilmember Druffel, Councilmember Johnston, and Councilmember Toombs. No one signed up for public comment. I'm going to read the consent agenda. If anything needs to be pulled off, just let me know. First is RS 2024-262 by Kimbrough, Taylor, Porterfield, and others, a resolution honoring the life of Nathaniel Harris. I have RS 2024-263 by Gamble, Coopin, Bradford, and others, recognizing the 10th anniversary of the Nashville Extreme Cold Weather Overflow Shelter and the contributions of Metro Social Services and the Office of Homeless Services. And RS 2024-264 by Nash and Parker, a resolution urging the Tennessee General Assembly to support House Bill 1967/Senate Bill 2162, allowing local legislative bodies to approve water and sewer infrastructure via resolution rather than by ordinance.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. All right. Wasn't that fast? Yeah. All right. Now we'll start election and confirmations. First up is Agricultural Extension Board reappointment of Miss Gigi Drumright for a term expiring on February 6, 2027. Ms. Drumright, thank you for being here. Would you like a parking validation or a quick ticket, which is bus pass?
Oh, parking validation. Thank you very much.
All right. Do you currently live in Davidson County?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other boards and commissions besides the one you're being reappointed to? All right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving again?
Okay. Well, I'm a small farmer, even though I work full-time as a lab technologist. I'm a small farmer, and we're also beekeepers, my husband and I. And so we have a little bit of ag experience, but it's been great the last 3 years getting to know the ag extension agents and just seeing the great work that they do at the extension office. They are remarkable, actually. And so it's just been a pleasure actually working with them and seeing the good work they do. And I'm not sure how much I contribute, but it's it's been rewarding. So if they'll have me back, I appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you for your willingness to serve again. Are there any questions from committee members? Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up next is Transportation Licensing Commission election to fill a vacancy for a term expiring January 31st, 2026. First up is Michael Hayes, nominated by Councilmember Jacob Coopin. Mr. Hayes, would you like a parking validation or a bus pass?
I have a parking validation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you currently live in Davidson County?
I do.
Do you serve on any other Metro boards and commissions?
I do not.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving?
Sure. Michael Hayes. I live at 4409 Warner Place in Nashville. Nashville native. Grew up in West Nashville and have spent time downtown since I was born. My great-grandfather started a business in downtown in 1919. I can remember, I'm 50, I can remember from maybe 7 or 8 coming downtown and my father, as a kid saying, don't roll the windows down, lock the doors. I've worked for the last 20 years to really revitalize the area south of Broadway. Participated in the Sub-Area 9 plan, the Gateway Boulevard Design Guidelines, the Franklin Street Corridor Study, the plan for Sobro, and done a lot of work really to help envision what our downtown could become from a development perspective. We've renovated a couple 250,000 square feet of historic buildings on First, Second, South, Second, North, two buildings on Broadway. We're property owners, we've close to 4 city blocks. South of Broadway, 2 blocks, well, block and a half in the Gulch. I'm interested in serving because so much of what the TLC licenses is in the downtown core. I know that tow trucks go all over the county, but there's a lot of towing that occurs in the core, scooters, e-bikes, Ubers, and now the pedal carriages and the entertainment transportation vehicles that roam our city are all things that fall under the purview of the TLC. And I think that as someone who is heavily invested in the core, who offices in the core, who's been down there every day for the last 20 years and many days a week over the last 43 that I can remember, I bring a unique perspective to the committee.
Great, thank you so much. Councilmember Cooper, would you like to speak on your nominee?
Sure, I'd love to speak on my nominee. So yeah, as Michael told y'all, he's a vested member of the community and has been on this commission and served previously and has multiple recommendations to come back on for another round. And so we appreciate his expertise on this committee.
Great, thank you. Any questions from committee members? So I guess my question is, what do you think we still have left to work on, or what could we be doing better from your experience serving on the board?
Yeah, I mean, so this is a really unique time for the TLC, right? It was started a long time ago to work on taxis and tow trucks. The last 5 or 6 years in particular, with the rise of e-bikes and scooters and license plate recognition and towing from license plate recognition, together with the prevalence of entertainment transportation vehicles, tractors pulling carts, council, the state and now the council has enabled the TLC to put a lot of regulations in place around all of this. And I think that over the last 2 years in particular, as that authority has come to bear, it's beneficial to have somebody like me who has the experience continuing to regulate these vehicles versus bringing a new person on. The next couple of years will be probably challenging for us. I think NDOT and TLC wants to roll out an e-bike program that's countywide. We'll go from 250 to somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 e-bikes. Scooters, same thing. We've got about 2,000. We likely increase those. We use those as a part of a mobility plan to place scooters and e-bikes at the edge of the bus network to be that last mile transportation system. And then and I think that your constituents who haven't necessarily seen these in their neighborhood will start to see these, and you'll get a question that you could divert back to us to say, how do we regulate these and where do we put them? And then look, everybody's aware of kind of what's been happening with the party buses and the regulations on the party buses. We went from 157 3 years ago when they weren't licensed to 89 today. The TLC has set a goal of between 32 and 70 that to be on the street based on the traffic conditions. We'll go through that cycle to reauthorize the entertainment transportation vehicles in 2 months. We'll go through a cycle to reauthorize the pedal carriages in like 2 or 3 months. And I think that the institutional knowledge that I bring from having been through the creation of those regulations is incredibly valuable, combined with the fact that I office downtown and I'm in the heart of where so many of these things operate today.
Councilmember Drummond?
Mr. Hayes, good to have you. With
Thank
your
you.
experience, appreciate you doing this and appreciate you in my district. The e-bikes, one of the comments I get from a lot of people are the concerns with the e-bikes, the lack of control and the lack of, you can't manage the people driving them, right? And then where they land is getting more and more into more difficult territory, whether in Midtown. But I'm starting to see them out in our district a little bit too.
Right.
And there's any thoughts on how you control this? Because it's a great idea.
Right.
It's just, how do you control and manage it to the point where, I know I almost hit someone, literally, I was going down right away and someone just went right across from me. So I was just curious. And probably the same thing with scooters, but,
It is, they don't, I mean, there aren't a lot of folks that ride scooters in our neighborhood.
yeah, not scooters, but e-bikes.
But yeah, the e-bikes, and I was hit by a car on, riding the bike to Bellevue Kroger when I was a kid, right? And, hit my car, helmet saved my life. And I'm nervous about the proliferation of scooters and e-bikes because nobody's wearing a helmet, I'll start with that.
Right.
I'm nervous for, I think, every neighborhood about those being littered throughout and mucking up the sidewalk. Right, that's what we're seeing with the scooters, particularly the downtown core where you have constrained sidewalks that are 5 feet wide because they're 140 years old. A scooter takes up most of that pathway that needs to be ADA accessible. And when they're parked on the sidewalk, you walk out into the street, right? And walk around them and they walk into traffic. So to your specific question, we'll put in place, I hope, geofencing relative to parking, and so and hopefully really good instructions as well, that if you don't park it in a corral or in a certain location, you'll get a fine or a penalty. Past that, like riding down the wrong side of the street, or cutting across traffic, there's not a lot we can do there.
Didn't know if there was anything out there that would be of value, only because it was quite, I know it was dark and someone just is literally down West End just went straight across, and 3 or 4 of us are screeching across, missed them. So, again, you can't manage them as well as the process, but it's a scary thought if you expand that very far.
And it's, agreed. We'll have information back from our pilot program in Midtown shortly, but I do know that NDOT does want to go through a big expansion of the program to help with kind of micro mobility and to help try to drive WeGo traffic as well, to be that last mile connection.
I know that we farther south don't have any e-bikes,
Right.
which is something that I keep hearing from multiple people that they want to see on our greenways further south, southeast, and so.
And that's a whole nother discussion where
Yep.
Greenways doesn't believe that the greenways necessarily are transit corridors or places for people to, they believe they're linear parks, not necessarily a place for people to commute. But that's not for TLC, that's.
Yeah, yours is just expanding the
But I-
e-bikes, which I would like to see.
Yeah.
So it just, given the fact that I understand wanting to start the program around the urban core and all of that, but the further out you go, a lot of these communities have grown. A lot of people would like more access to e-bikes, et cetera. So it is something definitely that I think we should continue to explore.
I know that the director really wants to push the program forward. She's been contemplating either negotiating with our existing providers, an expansion of the program.
Yep.
Or an RFP that would go out in the next month or two to go through a pretty significant expansion of the e-bike program. What I hear from the operators is that the e-bikes don't make any money, they're not profitable, and that the scooters do make a lot of money. And so they're probably gonna be something tied together to try to entice somebody to operate.
Yep.
As we've looked at other cities and benchmarks, like you've probably seen the city bikes in New York, well, City Bike, as an example, underwrites that and pays for it. We haven't found a generous benefactor in Davidson County who wants to have their logo all over the county on bikes everywhere that would wanna subsidize a e-bike program.
We'll see what happens. Any other questions from committee members? All right, can I get a motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you.
Thank y'all for your time.
All right, next up is Ryan Burring. Is Mr. Ryan here? Did he withdraw? He withdrew. All right. That makes it easy for all of us. All right, next is Public Library Board reappointment of Ms. Joyce Cersey for a term expiring on April 6, 2031. Ms. Cersey, thank you for being here. Would you like a parking validation or a bus pass?
That would be great, parking validation, thank you.
Here you go. Oh,
Thank
you keep
so
that.
much. Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, do you currently live in Davidson County?
I do.
Do you serve on any other boards and commissions besides the one you're being reappointed to? All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving again?
Well, I'm Joyce Cersey. I came to Nashville from Mississippi to go to undergraduate school at Fisk University, did my graduate work at Vanderbilt University, taught at Fisk, Tennessee State University, Meharry Medical College, before becoming CEO of a nonprofit organization, and was then asked to come and start the Office of Community Relations at Belmont University. I want to continue the job because the library is doing so many exciting things, and one of which I guess I can share with you. It won't be announced yet, so you get like a little more
Insider
little word.
information.
Yeah, we take off in session, but a lot of people will know on Sunday, so it's not far away. The library is getting ready to undertake a project to put libraries in child development facilities and work with the owners of those facilities so that we can help play a role in doing what we do in literacy and making sure that kids are ready for pre-K and kindergarten. Okay?
That's awesome.
All right, any questions from committee members?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say I've worked with Ms. Cersey through Belmont and other organizations, and she's a real community-driven person and an asset to our city. Great person. I'm proud to support you. I do have a question. Where are we in the search for a library director?
Well, the mayor came to our board meeting today and talked about the process, and it probably will not be for a while because I think that we had to suspend the search. The board voted to suspend the search. One of our issues was we had 3 persons, all of whom were minority, to engage in the procurement process for a search firm. And under the current procurement system, the vote from procurement outweighed the vote of those 3 persons. So we ended up with a search firm that was not our top search firm. And then we worked very hard to put people on a search committee that would be representative of the city. We had 2 African Americans, 2 Hispanics. We had 2 white people. We had the distribution of men and women, 1 LGBTQ person, and we had an immigrant on that committee. So we consciously did that. And when we announced those people after, this was after the long search for the search firm, after 2 board meetings, we were told that because they were a committee of the board, that we could not discuss the candidates anywhere. And it presented then a problem for those people, a lot of whom were leaders that you would know their names for us, because in order to go after candidates, you know, sometimes candidates don't reveal that they're looking for a job if they're in top. And so then we were advised that they had to be a committee, had to be an advisory group to the search firm. And it then presented a lot of problems, and people, you know, with service and being allowed to actually select a candidate. And so then we came down to the 4 top candidates who were really not selected by the search committee, but who were selected by the search firm and 1 person in the HR, in Metro HR. So we had a problem with that. And we had 3 candidates who had 3 candidates who had served in leadership of library systems in other cities, and we had a 4th candidate who had not. And we tried to be as open as we could, had interviews, and we had presentations from those 4 top candidates. And we asked employees who had viewed the interviews and who had listened to the presentations. And those employees, I want to say that we had 138 employees to vote. And those employees rated all of those candidates low. Not one of the candidates received a 4 or 5. And it was hard to us to vote on any of the candidates after that, because none of those candidates would have the confidence of our employees, and I think we had problems too. So rather than voting on any particular candidate, we voted to suspend the search. That's what we did.
Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry for that. Thank you for asking.
Before I go to Councilmember Prepty, because it's all the same one. I don't know. I'm finding it very difficult that we spent so much money on this firm for us to suspend the search, and we don't have a timeline when we're going to continue. I don't know what we're doing, honestly. We've hired this firm. I know that procurement has been a problem. I totally agree with that. They've been a problem. But we had candidates that were chosen by this firm. And I don't think that the firm is without knowledge, correct? Maybe they don't agree with where the board was, but they have knowledge. They recommended these people. I don't know why we wouldn't continue that conversation. So can you explain to me what the thought process is going forward? Are we going to be working with the same firm? Are we going to try and find a new firm, go through procurement? Like, are we going to reevaluate the same candidates that were before us? What is the thought process?
None of that has been discussed, because I think, I can't speak on behalf of the board because we have not discussed it in a board meeting. But I think right now, I think we have to work with the city on a procurement process that allows us to get the best. The library had budgeted, and I can't remember how much we budgeted for a search process, but we would have been able to get a firm. You know, when you work with search firms, they have tentacles out everywhere who can get you really the best people in the country. And I think we paid, I know it was over $20,000, I want to say 28, don't quote me on that. But, and the staff had limited staff. So it limited what we were able to do and the candidates that we got, if I could tell you about it. And then the discussions as we looked at the candidates, it became apparent to us that the board members were not satisfied with the candidates. So that's where we were.
One question before I go.
To lead a city the size of Nashville.
So when is this conversation going to happen?
Well, that's going to be up to Metro government.
But
There's no procurement process.
But you're trying to get a new procurement?
We not yet.
Contract?
They have to figure out what the process is going to be. They have to figure out what a procurement process is going to look like for us. I think, we have to pursue it. I think the mayor said today, the mayor talked about our interim director today, because our interim director is doing a fabulous job, to keep us going forward until Metro Procurement, we could talk about a process with Metro Procurement.
I'm trying to understand. So we're waiting on the procurement, a procurement process
Yes.
to have a new contract with another firm?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think you probably know more about the process, what goes on with procurement than we do.
They're a mess, but yes,
Huh?
they are a mess.
Since it's on.
Yours is a different
Yours
question.
is different, okay. Yeah, I just, so we have a procurement process, whether you agree with it or not. Like, we have a procurement process, and it sounds like there's a lot of, power jockeying to me, is what it sounds like. So procurement went one way, the board didn't like it, so I'm wondering.
This was the selection committee for what we were told is when the procurement representative working with us said that the numbers that they assigned, from what I understood, the numbers that they assigned that combined with our numbers, they said that this other firm, which we had, scored higher because their fee was lower. So that was the base, and we explained that this money was allocated in our budget, to spend, but that's what we were told during the process.
I mean, so you're sort of at a stalemate, is what it sounds like, because I don't think we're gonna change our procurement process for one search. Like, we have a process. Well, I mean, it doesn't sound feasible to
that's what
say,
we
well,
were
we're
told.
gonna reinvent the wheel to find this
No.
one director for this one department.
That's what we were told. We were told that this other firm got the scores from procurement because their fee was lower.
But no one has said that we're gonna find a new procurement process, or who said?
One,
Who said we were gonna create a new procurement process for the search, for the director search?
nobody's talked about doing it for our particular search. That's something that we are gonna have to discuss, to try to figure out.
So I think that's the problem, it's like procurement says one thing and the selection committee or board or whatever,
It was a
it
selection
doesn't agree. And so I don't know that anybody that procurement was gonna come up with was gonna be satisfactory to this group, because we got a power struggle is what I'm saying. There's, I don't know how we've made this political and power struggle over a library director. Like, I just feel like this is bonkers, right?
Well, it wasn't
So-
that, it was not, in my opinion, it was not a political, it didn't have anything to do with.
Well, political from
power.
a power struggle perspective. Y'all didn't get what you wanted because
Well-
procurement had their way in, and so there was a firm that was chosen that y'all didn't like.
We just thought the other firm had more experience than the firm that was selected.
But this is what we have now, right?
Right.
So and I don't want to, you don't represent the entire board, right? The board as a whole
Right.
voted to suspend the search. What was that vote? Does anyone
And that
know?
was based upon the candidate.
Was that everyone on the board voting to suspend the search?
No, we had one board member who had to leave the board because he was writing a book. Another board member was not there. And so it was, I want to say, it was five people, I think, who were at that board.
I don't understand what the vision that this board has, right? I don't understand where you all are
We have a
going.
vision to try to get the best person
Sure.
that we can. And we would
But
love
the
to
search
have
committee said that wasn't these three candidates,
4 candidates.
4 candidates.
And we would love to have, we want someone who is gonna have the confidence of our staff too, Yeah, we need somebody who's gonna have confidence of our staff.
Councilmember Toombs.
What's the total staff for the library?
I wanna say that we have about 360 people, and we had like 138 people to vote who actually listened to the interviews, because we had it broadcast in all of the branches.
Okay.
420 employees with 50 vacancies.
Say that again?
Nashville Public Library currently has 420 employees with around 50 vacancies.
That's what's
380.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Councilmember Pratt.
370.
Thank you. First, Ms. Cersei, let me say I appreciate your service to the library,
Thank you.
as well as to Nashville as a whole. And I'm very much excited about the initiative with child development centers, like early childhood education and early childhood literacy, something that is very near and dear to me. I've said this before, like I was a kid who grew up not reading well and felt dumb whenever I had to read aloud in class. And so providing support to the kids of this county is incredibly important to me. And ensuring that we have fair and open access to our public libraries is something that is crucially important to me as well. Something that does give me a bit of concern is around library policy as it relates to those who are trespassed from various library locations. I know the downtown branch is one of the ones where a lot of folks are trespassed. And I guess so, within the report from the library board meeting on January 16th, it lays out a number of categories for violations. So it says rules or conduct, injury or accident, and then suspension. And these are for folks who essentially are trespassed from the library. I guess my question is, is there a standard policy? Is there a policy that sets the standard by which a person is trespassed from the library? And I'll start with that because I have a couple of follow-up questions from that.
Many of you know that thank you for the question. Do you remember the park that was across from the library? Okay. When the city decided to change that park so that homeless people could no longer be in the park, the library decided to do something very creative because we believe that the library belongs to everybody in the city. And what we did was we did something very proactive, and we opened up the third floor of the library to people who were homeless. But we started doing programming for them. So people who, and we collaborated with agencies in the city who provide services. So for example, people who are veterans who need housing, we invited veterans to come and work with them to explain what services were available to them, how to get housing. We had workforce development people come to try to teach how to get jobs. We had people come to teach how to use computers, etc. So we have computers up there. People can get online and they can read newspapers or books or do whatever they want to do. So that was the library's response. Rather than people having no place to go, we felt that this is your library, and the library as literacy services, what we try to do with the entire rest of the population, we wanted to do something with people. But as you know, some people have mental illnesses, some people have all sorts of other problems other than I don't have a job or I might not have somewhere to stay. And so probably we have more incidents of that problem at the library, because there are occasions when people may become violent and our security has to deal with that, or I was trying not to be graphic here. There are other incidents that people at that, especially the downtown library, have to handle all of the times, and so that's why we have that set up.
I guess what my concern is for folks who are either suspended or trespassed from the library for something that's not necessarily a criminal offense, like viewing pornography in an area or exposing themselves, or becoming violent, like because those are things that do occur. But I am aware of instances where folks have been trespassed and removed from the library for things that don't rise to that level, and that I wouldn't necessarily define as a public nuisance. So then my follow-up question to that is if a person has been trespassed from the library, but it's not for something that is a criminal offense, is there an appeal procedure in place through which a person can have that decision reversed?
I mean, anytime people can come to the library to ask, you know, a question. And there's also library staff who can handle that too. And I know that Terry Luke, who is the director, interim director, is with us to answer those kind of questions too.
So I would
Because
just,
we look at the numbers, you know, but yes.
so I would just say that we do have policies in place for security, and based on the incidents is how somebody might be trespassed. There is definitely an appeals process, so if somebody does not feel like they were treated fairly, or they would like us to consider reversing the trespass, then we do have an appeals process for that. But we have, I wanna say 1 through 17, the numbered policies, and we work really hard. We don't want somebody to not be able to be at the library, but our incidences at the main library, I'm just gonna say to you that there are severe. We have the drug overdoses, we have physical assaults even on our security officers. So that's when we're going to be sure that, you know, we also have to be sure that the rest of our customers are safe, because if somebody is not in a good place, then they, you know, we have on those same floors children and parents and everyone as well using the library. But there are definitely security policies in place, and I can send them to you if you'd like.
Are they,
And I think there's a gentleman here who, he has, as long as I've been on the library, he has come to our meetings, and his comments are always represent people who are homeless and gives us the guidance, you know, on what we're doing.
And just a quick follow-up to that, and this will be my last question, I promise. Well,
That's
I
okay.
can't make that promise.
No.
But whenever a person is trespassed, are they made aware of what due process is in place, what that appeals process looks like?
Yes, it's from security.
Councilmember Evans?
Thank you
Yes,
for being here.
ma'am.
I was just curious, based on what you were describing, is part of the folks that you have on the third floor, is there social workers present as part of the folks that are
Social
engaged?
workers are involved, but they are involved from, and Terry, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're involved from our collaborative agency.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. One thing that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if it's come up in a previous library board meeting, but I have had a couple of experiences where there's been a library request that I have, one I initiated, one I did not initiate, one that came to me, but one was for an internal professional development speaker, and a library employee brought to my attention that we had a procurement issue that was hindering payment of the speaker. And so have you had procurement issues rise to the board level to talk about like where the challenges are, I guess, with the things that you're working on and kind of how it overlays with procurement standards?
I think the only incident of which I'm aware that was brought to me was a speaker or somebody who was doing a program who had never presented an invoice. And it wasn't about payment, it was about following what Metro standard process is to get the person paid. The money, the library had the money, but there was no invoice or no anything like that to make payment.
Got it, okay. And so we may be speaking of the same one, or we might be talking about a different one.
I don't know if Terry has
I just
something.
wanted to say that one of the things that with procurement changing is that we have, say for instance, for our system-wide programming, we have performers that would really love to come and we've worked with them in the past and we've been able to get them paid. They don't want to, I'm not saying they're right or wrong, I'm just saying they don't want to divulge all of their personal information in terms of their, their business and all of that, and that's prevented us being able to get some of the programmers.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then the other item, Director Luke was very helpful to me because I had a school I was trying to buy library books for, And anyway, the long and the short of it is, we could not, I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna tap into the library who's buying all these books, and then we can figure this out. And Director Luke was very helpful to try to coordinate that, but in the end, it was a procurement issue that ended up being the challenge. And so I don't, there's all kinds of procurement challenges floating around from different departments, and so I'd love to see like more, as we're changing procurement a little bit with new leadership, how can we make some changes that will not hinder outcomes?
Yes,
Not aware, I was not aware.
We're
But
looking for
anyway.
a new director for procurement.
But thank you for wanting to serve
They
again.
found one.
They already found one?
Mm-hmm.
Was there an email?
No, I guess I have inside information. That they do.
All right, any other questions from committee members? All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One, me. Any not voting? Okay, so that's 5 in favor, 1 against, 1 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
All right, up next, Sports Authority reappointment of Mr. Jad Duncan for a term expiring on February 2030. Mr. Duncan, thank you so much for being here. Do you need a parking pass, a parking validation, or a bus pass?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Do you currently live in Davidson County?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you serve on any other boards and commissions besides the one you're being reappointed to?
No, ma'am.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving once again?
Sure thing. My name is Jad Duncan. Nashville native. Grew up here in Nashville. Grew up on the west side of town. Currently live in the Bellevue area. Have lived in the Bellevue area my entire adult life. Lived kind of west Nashville. I'm a practicing attorney. I'm in private practice, mainly civil law, and I have been on the Sports Authority since 2018, I believe. That's right. And so, yeah, love to continue to serve, and it's been a fun ride. Had been a lot of changes, and it's been really interesting and fascinating to watch.
Great, thank you so much. Any questions from committee members?
What sports do you play?
Do I play? Well, after I've injured myself for everything and realized that as a 47-year-old man, I need to calm down a little bit, I like to jog and I like to play golf. But I did play hockey and soccer, so.
All right, any other questions? You got another one? You're gonna ask what his golf score is or whatever that is? What's your
I was about to say,
handicap?
what is your
Handicap?
what's your handicap?
Like 18-ish, so it's not good, man. I mean, I'm not saying I'm great.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Next is Sports Authority reappointment of Mr. Emmett Wayne. Wynn, for a term expiring February 17, 2030. Mr. Wynn, thank you so much for being here. Would you like a parking validation or a bus pass?
No, thank you, I don't require one.
All right. Do you currently live in Davidson County?
I do.
Do you serve on any other metro boards and commissions besides the one you're being reappointed to?
I do not.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving once again?
Well, I was able to get Jed to come on and get up here first so he could let you know why some of us old sports people keep trying to play sports and be involved in sports. When I first came to the Sports Authority, it was fun. It was learning things that we didn't know when we grew up. One of my problems is too, as you see me with this little thing here that I keep walking around with, is when we played football. Football really was fun, but it wasn't fun to me sometimes. So I have had, I don't even know how many surgeries I've had, and I just am always involved in sports, even in our neighborhoods. And when I was called to ask what I'd like to be on the Metro Sports Authority, I knew this is a way to learn and understand how it gets from one division to another, how the people get paid, how the city works. And Nashville has just been fun to me. I used to live right down the street on Meigs, right down Main Street, and we played every day. We played on Sundays. We played on Saturday nights. It's always, and I just thought that the Sports Authority would be good. And so far, it has been great. I have had a lot of learning. I have had a lot of fun. We have lost a lot of people, and that hasn't been fun, but we've lost them because, time says that we all got to get out of here at one point or another. And I still think that we have a good place for this city to continue to bring customers from everywhere, bring us their money. They bring it to the hotels and the facilities. They buy gas, they travel back and forth. I just enjoy it. And I think in my mind, we still have a job that we haven't finished with getting some female sports into the Nashville area. We have done so many of the ice rinks. We got people calling us. I know they've called and asked me, "Can you help us get an ice rink?" Well, I wish I could, but y'all come on down to Nashville and learn how it works. I think that I was asked again if I would be interested in serving on the Sports Authority, and I definitely was.
Great, thank you. Any questions from committee members? Are you gonna ask the score question?
You already said he played football, yeah.
Oh, you didn't ask the score?
Oh, well.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much. All right, next is Board of Zoning Appeals reappointment of Ms. Ashanti. Ashanti. I'm so sorry. Ashanti Davis for a term expiring on February 26, 2029. Ms. Davis, thank you so much for being here. Would you like a parking validation or a bus pass?
No, thank you.
All right. Do you currently live in Davidson County?
Yes.
Do you serve on any other metro boards and commissions besides the one you're being reappointed to?
No.
Great. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving?
So, as a lot of people have said in this room, but I grew up in East Nashville. I'm like a 4th or 5th generation East Nashvilleian. My great-grandparents own the lot that I grew up on, and my dad grew up on it, and my grandmother grew up on it. And so I sort of, for probably nonstop for like 2 years, I showed up at every planning commission meeting. And from there, I transitioned from an appointment to all of that protesting somehow secured an appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which sort of ended the protesting. So I think serving on this board combines my passion for the city I love, and then it also allows me to use my legal training, and it exposed me to a completely different area of the law that I would not have known anything about other than serving on this board. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for your willingness to serve once again. Any questions from committee members? You got one?
Well, how?
All right. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Thank you so much.
No, thank y'all.
All right, last one. Board of Zoning Appeals, reappointment of Mr. Ross Pepper for a term expiring on February 26, 2029. Mr. Pepper, would you like a parking validation or a bus pass?
The parking validation would be great, thank you.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Do you currently live in Davidson County?
I do.
Do you serve on any other metro boards and commissions besides the one you're being reappointed to?
I do not.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving once again?
Sure, I am a native Nashvilleian. I grew up in Bellevue. I live in Belmont now in Mr. Cash's district. I have served on the Board of Zoning Appeals. This will be my second term. I have enjoyed it. I think I've made a difference, and especially with the experience I have now. I'm a lawyer in private practice, and I've always done a lot of real estate litigation and work with surveyors and architects, and so that has helped me immensely to be able to understand the issues that come before us, and I think be very efficient with it and do a good job for the community and serve with some people that I really like serving with.
Great, thank you. Any questions from committee members? All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? 8 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. And that concludes rules and confirmations. Can I get a motion to adjourn?